J'ouvre les portes. Let the doors be open. Déclaration de député, l'honorable député de Joliette.
The honourable member for Joliette. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the government announced an investment to ensure the sustainability of Bombardier in Toronto. Ottawa found a means of helping Toronto more than Montreal with the Jewel of Quebec Inc. Imagine, for the C-Series, it is offering crumbs to the most significant technological project in the history of Quebec. This project, which we designed and achieved our own despite the federal government's not lifting a finger to help it when it was at risk. Bombardier was threatened with bankruptcy, and Ottawa didn't move. Quebec injected some to mitigate part of the risk. To deal with this I don't care style of federalism, the company had to relocate and cut 15,000 jobs. The Bloc is thinking of those people today. As Jean Parizeau said, we can never underestimate the ability of Canada to disappoint us. We saw that again yesterday. Thank you.
Bill, like that.
Mr. Speaker, I was honored this past Thursday to attend the Black History Month kickoff celebration hosted by the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton in partnership with the Oakville Museum and Sheridan College in my riding of Oakville. The event featured traditional and contemporary Black art forms commemorating the rich cultural heritage of Black Canadians. We saw exhibitions of Oakville's early Black history, African Canadian art, and a poster exhibit by Sheridan College students. The CCAH celebrates its 40th anniversary this year. Veronica Tyrell, longtime president, believes in actively promoting unity and diversity, unbiased inclusion, and the capacity to value differences. Mr. Speaker, I was delighted to have been part of the kickoff celebration of Black history and arts activities in my community of Oakville, and I look forward to the various celebrations and activities that will take place throughout the month. Congratulations to Veronica and the CCAH.
Honourable member for Huron-Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honour a true Canadian hero. Charles Mann, a veteran of World War II, passed away this January. Charles joined the military in 1940 at the age of 18, and later, 2 years later, volunteered for the Devil's Brigade. He fought bravely in Italy and in southern France, and a few years ago was awarded the U.S. Congressional Gold Medal. Charles was also one of Canada's first nuclear operators. Charles served the community of Kincardine with distinction, over 20 years on municipal council, 13 years of those as mayor. He was named Kincardine Citizen of the Year. He was a recipient of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. He was a passionate advocate of veterans, serving on the National Council of Veterans Affairs and his local Kincardine Legion. Charles was a true gentleman. He loved his family, his 2 dogs, and his community. Thank you for your lifetime of service to this country. Charles, thank you. We'll miss you. God bless.
The honourable member for La Salle et Mar-Verdun. Mr. Speaker, today Statistics Canada showed us a first glimpse of the most recent national statistical portrait by publishing the results of the 2016 census dealing with population and housing data. I am proud to be part of a government whose first steps taken was that of reinstating the mandatory long-form census. We committed to reinstating the detailed census form, and we kept our promise. Canadians, therefore, once again have access to reliable and specific data.
Plan ahead. Everything from transit planning to housing strategies to support for new Canadians was made more difficult. Result of today's release shows that over 35 million people now call Canada home. This is 10 times greater, Mr. Speaker, than in 1871 when the first census after Confederation recorded 3.5 million people in Canada. Mr. Speaker, the information gathered through the census is central to our evidence-based...
The honourable member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing.
Mr. Speaker, last week I hosted an event in support of the National Initiative for Eating Disorders. This not-for-profit coalition works to increase awareness and education for the chronic situation facing sufferers of eating disorders and their families. Misunderstood, inadequately treated, and underfunded, eating disorders are considered the deadliest of mental illnesses, since they are 12 times more likely to lead to death than any other mental illness. Recovery starts with understanding. Seeking help is a courageous step, and there is a big role for parents, families, and significant others to play.
It's important that parliamentarians contribute to the efforts to deal with this and to raise awareness of the research and good practices.
To reintroduce a motion that calls on Parliament to work with the provinces, territories, and Indigenous communities to develop a coordinated Canadian strategy on eating disorders. It is my hope M117 will receive broad support from all sides of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Vancouver Centre.
Mr. Speaker, I stand today to pay tribute to an organization called Raising the Roof, who are providing national leadership on long-term solutions to homelessness in Canada. Homelessness is not a choice. Safe shelter is a human right. The homeless are often women fleeing abuse, immigrants and refugees with nowhere to go, youth at risk, and individuals suffering from mental illness and addiction. Once homeless, people find themselves trapped on the streets in a vicious cycle. Yesterday, Tuesday, February the 7th, marked the 20th anniversary of Raising the Roof's Took campaign. 50 communities across the country will be selling toques as a fundraiser to support at-risk people in their time of need. I encourage you to take part in this national initiative. Buy a toque, wear a toque, raise a roof.
The honourable member for Calgary Signal Hill.
I stand today to recognize two outstanding Calgarians who were also both members of my board and unfortunately passed away all too soon recently. Hugh Ferguson is a businessman, a volunteer in the community of Bowness, and unfortunately died in his sleep while on a cycling vacation in Greece. Bev Reynolds was a public relations icon in the city of Calgary. She died peacefully recently after a long struggle with cancer. And while her PR career spanned more than 30 years, working with the homeless through the Knox United Church was probably one of her most satisfying accomplishments. Both will be missed. As members of Parliament, we make decisions which hopefully result in better life for Canadians almost every day. But Bev also wanted each of us to know that in this place, on occasion, we also make decisions which make facing death much more dignified. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Avignon-Lamétis-Matane-Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, 2017 is a special year for one of the towns in my riding, Carleton-sur-Mer. It is a year that they are celebrating their 250th anniversary. 250 years ago, Acadian families laid down roots in this magnificent place east of Quebec, nestled between the mountain and the sea. Over time, proud men and women, with the support of new arrivals, built and shaped a dynamic community. With the beauty of its landscape, its quality of living, its residents and merchants who care about the development of their town, Carleton-sur-Mer is a model for all communities wishing to grow and develop while fully respecting their natural assets. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity before the House to wish all the citizens of Carleton-sur-Mer and elsewhere a year filled with festivities and celebrations of joy, happiness, and pride. Happy anniversary, Carleton-sur-Mer.
For Brampton South.
Mr. Speaker, today is a great day of my riding of Brampton South. Until today, we only had one hospital for the 9th largest city in Canada. My downtown riding serves as the new home of Peel Memorial Centre for Health and Wellness Campus. It will have state-of-the-art care, including mental health, addiction services, dialysis, and senior care unit, and a family health focus. This facility is a great example of innovation in our healthcare sector and a sign of good things in Brampton. Congratulations to the William Osler team, including Joanne Flubren, Dr. Naveed Mohammed, Dr. Frank Martino, Dr. Ron Hasselgrave, Marlon Roden, Ann Ford, and all those involved, especially supporting this through fundraising and community organizing. I look forward to working with you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Saskatoon-Grasswood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honour a Mr. Harold Chapman. Harold was the author of Sharing My Life, Building the Cooperative Movement. Harold will be recognized with the Order of Canada in May of 2017. Harold, you see, is only 99 years young.
Wow.
He has been the leader of this cooperative movement for 7 decades.
Wow.
He established the Cooperative College of Canada, where he was principal for 18 years. The college was a national center for cooperative education and research. Harold was also involved in the development of the Saskatoon Community Clinic. It was my honor to present Harold Chapman with the Saskatoon Grasswood Canada 150 Citizen Pin at the McClure Place where he currently lives. It's in recognition for his contributions to Saskatoon Grasswood, to the province of Saskatchewan, and the country of Canada. Thank you.
The honourable member for Scarborough Rouge Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 21 years ago, the Honourable Jean Augustine moved a motion in this House recognizing each February as Black History Month. I stand here on the shoulders of great political leaders who represented my riding. Leaders like the Honourable Alvin Curling, who was the first Black Speaker in a House in Canada. The Honourable Marianne Chambers, former Provincial Minister of Education and Colleges. The Honourable Margaret Best, former Ontario Minister of Consumer Affairs, and the Honourable Mitzi Hunter, the current Provincial Minister of Education. I'm also very proud of the work undertaken by many Black-focused organizations such as the Taibu Community Health Centre, Tropicana Community Services, Jamaican Canadian Association, the Jamaican Canadian Association of Nurses, and the Ontario Black History Month Society. I want to thank these individuals and organizations who work so hard to open doors for people like myself and who continue to serve our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Député de Nickel Belt.
The honourable member for Nickel Belt.
Good job, Gary. Mr. Speaker, we're facing a dramatic age in our population. Seniors in Nickel Belt, Greater Sudbury, across the country expect us to improve their quality of lives. Aujourd'hui, les Canadiens.
Today, Canadians aged 65 and over represent approximately 15% of the population and approximately 45% of our national expenses in health.
Caregivers, medical practitioners that I have visited, like Au Château, Sturgeon Falls, Capriole Seniors Assisted Living Complex, Villa Saint-Gabriel at Chelmsford, Finlandia Sudbury, Elizabeth Centre in Valcarron. I am proud to have tabled my private member's bill motion to develop a pan-Canadian national strategy for seniors. J'encourage mes collègues à participer.
I encourage my colleagues to participate in this important debate for our seniors and to write to their MPs.
In this important seniors debate and by visiting and engaging in demandplan.ca. Merci, Miigwech.
Thank you.
Honourable member for Lethbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this evening we will be debating the jobs crisis that's taking place in the oil and gas sector right now. On the same day that we learn the Prime Minister will give Bombardier a $400 million bailout, we will also be debating the 100,000 jobs that are lost across this country because of the oil and gas industry and where it's at today. From Newfoundland to British Columbia, I have talked to hundreds of youth across this country who are very concerned about the jobs that are disappearing from coast to coast to coast. Whether it be geology, engineering, math, or any of the skilled trades, the oil and gas sector has provided good-paying, full-time jobs for Canada's young workers. The Prime Minister promised to create 40,000 new jobs for youth in 2016. But this month, Statistics Canada came out with its numbers, and they say that only 9,000 net new jobs were created for young people this past year. Because of the Liberal inaction, Canada's youth have lost the best-paying jobs that are available in this country.
For Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
Mr. Speaker, it's appropriate this month that we acknowledge the first black man to sit in this Parliament, a man I was proud to call a friend, the Honourable Lincoln Alexander. I was a radio reporter. I was a radio reporter covering the 1968 federal election in Link's campaign office the night he won the seat in Hamilton West. At his victory party, the music was provided by none other than Oscar Peterson. His life was a series of achievements: an RCAF war veteran, a successful lawyer, the first black member of Parliament and then cabinet minister, the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, Chancellor of the University of Guelph, and let's not forget, Mr. Speaker, the recipient of the famous Canadian phrase, Fuddle-duddle. When Link passed at age 90, I stood beside him as mayor as he lay in repose in Hamilton City Hall, and for 3 days, an endless line of citizens, young and old, rich and poor, of every race, color, and creed came to pay their respects and share personal stories that reflected the incredible man that he was. Mr. Speaker, it's an honor to pay tribute to Lincoln Alexander today, a Hamilton hero, a Canadian hero, and a legacy to remember Black History Month.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, it is critical that women who have been sexually assaulted are protected, believed, and have confidence in the justice system. I'm very concerned to learn that in London, 30% of sexual assault cases were considered unfounded, a rate significantly higher than any other serious crime. In response, London Police Services has announced it will review more than 690 sexual assault cases going back to 2010, and I appreciate that they have recognized that the unfounded rates are much too high. London police have shown leadership over the past 30 years in addressing woman abuse, and I have every confidence that the police force will again show that leadership by changing how it addresses sexual assault complaints. I call on our Justice Minister to take immediate action and ensure that all our police forces have the resources to appropriately handle sexual assault complaints. We need a national action plan to end violence against women, which addresses survivor needs and provides training and support for those working in the justice system. Without federal leadership, women are tragically being re-victimized and dismissed.
The honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, it's my honour to rise today to recognize an outstanding member of this House. The member for Dauphin Swan River Neepawa was recently recognized as the International Legislator of the Year by Safari Club International. Now, SCI is an organization that is composed of hunters dedicated to promoting wildlife conservation worldwide, as well as protecting the freedom to hunt. My friend and mentor is a lifelong hunter, angler, and avid outdoorsman. He works tirelessly for his constituents and all Canadian hunters, anglers, and trappers. He was instrumental in establishing the Recreational Fisheries Conservation Partnership Program, helped end the useless long gun registry, has fought valiantly against every attack on the hunting, fishing, and trapping community. His unflinching devotion to protecting our way of life is not just respectable, it's admirable. He's a conservationist first and foremost and a common-sense environmentalist. In summing this man in a few words, I have this to say. His mind belongs to his work, his heart belongs to his family, and his soul belongs in the woods. Congratulations, my friend. May your line always be tight and your aim always true.
The honourable member for Hull Aylmer. Mr. Speaker, 29 years ago, I arrived in Ottawa to begin my university studies. And you know, it wasn't the first day of classes that were making me nervous, but my first day here as a parliamentary page. Luckily for me, and for the 32 parliamentary pages, for the 32 years that she was here, Lynn Legault was here to welcome us, to train us, and guide us in our role, in her role as page supervisor. I rise today to acknowledge Lynn Legault's impending retirement. On behalf of all members, I sincerely thank Lynn for her remarkable and unstinting service to the House of Commons over more than 10 parliaments with approximately 1,333 different members of Parliament, and above all, she supervised over 1,240 parliamentary pages since the beginning of her work here in the House of Commons.
Speaker, I would like to say directly to Lynn, Lynn, you conducted yourself with great dignity, discretion, and with the highest sense of professionalism. You did more than mentor a generation of pages. You made this place a better place. And that's no mean feat, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Lynn, for your service to Parliament, and on behalf of all members of Parliament, enjoy your well-deserved retirement.
Now that we've had a pleasant moment. Oral questions, question.
Oral questions.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Speaker, in March 2016, the Vice President of the C-Series program of Bombardier said that it would be useful but not necessary, and he was talking about a loan. So can the Prime Minister say why his government is going forward with this loan, whereas the company said that it was not even necessary? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, we have been working closely with Bombardier for many months to discuss how the government can help the aerospace industry in Canada to create jobs and good growth in terms of R&D. And that is why we decided to grant a loan of close to $400 million to create jobs in the aeronautics sector across the country and to boost competitiveness on this important market for the world. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister thought through the message that he's sending to Canadians across the country, when one favoured business, Bombardier, receives hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer handouts while he's punishing others with higher taxes and a carbon tax. So my question is very simple. Does he plan to also bail out the dry cleaning shop in Fort McMurray or a diner in Stratford that's gone out of business because of his bad decisions?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we were elected on a commitment to create good middle-class jobs across the country and help those working hard to join the middle class. That's why we're pleased that this loan of almost $400 million to Bombardier is going to create thousands of good quality middle-class jobs across the country. But we're also pleased that by approving the Line 3 replacement, we're creating 7,000 full-time middle-class jobs. By approving the Trans Mountain expansion, we're creating over 15,000 new middle-class jobs. We are working right across the country, including investing $1.3 billion in Alberta infrastructure alone, because we know creating good jobs and growth matters.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said he would borrow $10 billion a year to pay for his promises. Now that total is close to $25 billion. And last night we learned he's borrowing another $370 million to send to one single company, Bombardier. His current plan isn't creating any jobs, so my question is this. Exactly how many jobs will this $370 million create?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The aeronautics industry across this country is responsible for thousands of strong middle-class jobs and multiple small businesses right across the country that are spin-offs from the high-quality manufacturing that goes on as Canada is a leader within aeronautics in the world. We will continue to believe in a strong future for our research and development in aeronautics, but also in a broad range of industries. That's why we're being thoughtful about how to create good middle-class jobs across the country in many different industries.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, wait a second. The Prime Minister wrote a check for $370 million to a single company, and he didn't get assurances from them that they would hire one single new worker. Mr. Speaker, I really hope he gets a new negotiating team before he sits down with President Trump and talks about NAFTA, or we are screwed.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
No answer.
I'll make note that the Prime Minister was speechless. Mr. Speaker, so let's be clear about what's happening today. The Prime Minister is handing a giant corporation $370 million and forcing taxpayers across the country to pay for it with a massive new carbon tax. He's making life easier for a multi-billion-dollar corporation who said they didn't need the money, while making it harder for people, ordinary taxpayers, families, and business owners. Can he please explain to us, one last time, how this makes any sense?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, by making a loan to Bombardier of close to $400 million, we're investing in research and development here in this country, creating thousands of good new middle-class jobs in a growth industry that's going to continue to demonstrate how competitive Canada can be in the world. We continue to be focused on innovation and research that's going to lead to good jobs for Canadians. In a world that is changing, we need to make sure that Canadians can continue to compete at the highest levels because I know we're capable of it and we're demonstrating it every single day.
The honourable member for Outremont.
Mr. Speaker, last weekend, 22 refugees crossed the border from the States seeking safety in Canada. Some walked 12 kilometres in minus 20-degree weather. Under the Safe Third Country Agreement, any refugee who sets foot in the U.S. is blocked from coming to Canada and is therefore forced to resort to these extreme measures. Can the Prime Minister explain why he is defending this agreement with the U.S. when he knows that it is causing further harm to vulnerable refugees?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Immigration, along with the Minister of Public Safety, is very concerned about the situation in Emerson. And indeed, we need to make sure that we are both protecting the integrity of the Canadian border, the strength of our immigration and refugee system, and demonstrating that we're there for the security of communities and individuals. Canada will always be welcoming to vulnerable people. We need to make sure we're doing it the right way to protect them and to protect our country.
Honourable member for Outremont.
If he's very concerned, why isn't he doing anything, Mr. Speaker?
A Canadian family was recently stopped at the United States border. These were Canadian citizens, residents of Brossard, and they happened to be Muslim. They were questioned on their religion and on their opinion of Donald Trump. And then they were told that they could not enter the United States. Mr. Speaker, the decisions of Trump are affecting Canadians right now. So why is the Prime Minister not standing up to defend these people? Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, there are 400,000 Canadians who cross this border every day, and we are working very closely with the American administration. And not just the people in my office, but many ministers, including the Foreign Affairs Minister, who is in the States today, to discuss how we can improve the processes between our two countries, including defending the rights of Canadians. This is an issue that concerns everyone here, and we're looking after it. The honourable member for Outremont. Mr. Speaker, we know that the Minister of Democratic Reform was informed that the government was going to break its promise only one day before she was forced to make the announcement. The Prime Minister did not make that announcement himself. Instead, he hid behind his new minister. He refused to take responsibility for his deceit. I have a very specific question for the Prime Minister. On what date did he decide to break his promise? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, speaking of taking responsibility, everyone knows, and it is written in our mandate letters that are published on our website that come directly from the Prime Minister to my ministers to explain what their responsibilities will be as they carry out their mandate. It is clear, it's transparent, it's open, and it's my signature on every mandate letter, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Outremont. The only problem is that letter was hidden. It was the minister who was forced to unveil it once it was clear that the Prime Minister had broken the promise.
The Minister said just a few weeks ago, quote, "I have heard loudly and clearly that Canadians want a better system of choosing our governments." Sounds like consensus to me, Mr. Speaker. He also said, quote, "I make promises because I believe in them." More like, I make promises when they help me win an election. So will the Prime Minister apologize to Canadians for so blatantly misleading them?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Canadians have been clear they want improvements to our democracy, and that's exactly what we're working on, whether it's protecting political parties and our political systems from cybersecurity threats, whether it's ensuring better transparency around fundraising, whether it's improving by undoing changes made by the previous government that make it harder for Canadians to vote. There are many things we're working on to improve our democracy. That's what Canadians expect.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, right now, today, the ministers of this government are in Washington. Now, we're used to fancy visits to Washington and fine dinners with photo ops. The president came here on June 29th, and there was a big party with zero results. Are the ministers going to come back to Washington with something in their pockets for Canadians? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, today the Minister of Foreign Affairs is meeting with her counterpart Rex Tillerson. They are going to be discussing priority questions between Canada and the United States. They have underscored the importance of the economic relationships between the two countries that represent millions of jobs for the middle class. They have also discussed our balanced trade relations between our two countries, and they've discussed the softwood lumber issue. We will always defend vigorously our national interests. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, like many of my colleagues here in Parliament, we met with the delegations of many mayors of Quebec. Now, the mandate letters are Bibles for the minister, but nothing is written in those mandate letters that the softwood lumber issue must be solved. How can they think that they're going to have any support from this government? All it does is talk and talk, but there are no results for our softwood lumber producers. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we are engaged and committed to respecting the softwood lumber agreement. We are negotiating and cooperating closely with the producers in the softwood sector and the provinces because we want a good deal for Quebec and Canada, not just any deal.
Carleton.
The $170 billion Liberal Green Energy Act has inflated electricity prices, forced the poorest to the food bank, and left Ontario with the highest poverty rate of any province in Canada. Because poor households spend a larger share of their income on gas, groceries, and heat, they will suffer the most from this new federally mandated carbon tax. Yet this government is censoring data on the harm the tax will do to the poorest Canadians. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After a decade of inaction on climate and the environment, we are taking serious action, and we're doing it with the provinces and territories. But we're also supported by labor organizations, by business, by environmentalists across the country. This consensus includes all 5 major banks, it includes major energy companies, it includes major consumer goods companies, and I was heartened to see that elder statesmen in the Republican Party today just announced that they support putting a price on carbon pollution. When will this party opposite understand that it is the right thing to do?
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Well, I know the member is very proud that millionaire CEOs and U.S. Republican wealthy elites favor a carbon tax. We on this side of the House of Commons are actually fighting for working-class Canadians. Yesterday we learned that Kathleen Wynne will use proceeds of the carbon tax to give rebates for $150,000 Teslas. Mr. Speaker, this is another prime Liberal example of welfare for the wealthy. When will they finally stand up for the hard-working men and women who pay the bills in this country?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
It's always a big surprise to hear the party opposite talking about caring about the working class, given the previous party's policies. But you know what? Maybe I'll just quote what MP Patrick Brown, who he may know, he may actually be familiar with him. Ooh. He said, climate change is a fact, it's a threat, it's man-made, we have to do something about it, and that something includes putting a price on carbon.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, I have a simple question to ask. What is the Prime Minister's word worth? We saw that he was speechless, further to the question posed by the leader of the opposition. But the last week, at exactly this same time, the Prime Minister said we are not going to tax health or dental insurance plans. But yesterday, we voted on a motion that repeated the Prime Minister's words, but surprise, surprise, he voted against it. So, Mr. Speaker, here's my question. Does the champion of broken promises, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance, our government promised to invest in the middle class and those working hard to join it. We are the party who cut taxes for the middle class, and it is the other party who voted against that position. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is our party who set up the Canada Child Benefit, an allowance that is more generous and that will help Canadians to raise their families. Mr. Speaker, we are going forward with our plan, and we're very proud of it. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance is starting to have a competition with regard to people not answering questions, because that was a simple question, but once again, that government says one thing but votes differently. Will the government pledge right now to protect the tax credits that will directly affect Canadians, that is public transit, volunteer firefighters, and the Registered Education Savings Plan? Will it protect those credits? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Madam Mr. Speaker. Once again, it is our government that supports the middle class and that supports people who are working hard to join it. Mr. Speaker, it is our government that cut taxes for the middle class, and once again, we are the ones who set up the Canada Child Benefit. This is an advantage that is very generous. It will help 9 out of 10 families keep more money in their pockets, and it is non-taxable. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, concerning Bombardier, after more than 1 year of waiting, the Liberal government has disappointed us. The federal loan granted to Bombardier is chump change compared to the funding granted by the Quebec provincial government. In addition, the government has not guaranteed necessarily that it will keep the jobs at the Mirabel and Dorval plants. So, Mr. Speaker, when will the minister ensure that jobs are maintained and created in the aerospace industry in Quebec? The Honourable Minister of Industry.
It's an honor to work with 40 outstanding MPs from Quebec who helped drive this file to make sure that we made this investment. And this investment is about workers. It's about Canadian families. This investment will help secure 4,000 good quality jobs. It will help create an additional 1,500 jobs, Mr. Speaker. That's what this government is committed to doing. We're focusing on middle class Canadians. We're focused on good quality jobs, and we're going to support the aerospace sector for years to come, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government is supposed to defend our aerospace sectors and the thousands of jobs at stake. And it took the government 16 months to come up with a loan. After pressure from the NDP, the Quebec government, and the Machinists Union, they only went 1/3 of the way, and everyone is disappointed. And we have no details. Has the government received assurances that these jobs will be maintained and created in Quebec and Canada, or did they just write a blank check? Here's my question, and it's simple. Did the Liberal government make sure that the jobs will stay in Canada and Quebec? We want that guarantee. The Honourable Minister.
Received assurances. The assurances were that these jobs are going to make sure that we have good quality jobs across the country and in Quebec as well, Mr. Speaker. This is 4,000 jobs that will be secured, 1,500 additional jobs that will be created, thousands of indirect jobs that will be created to help small businesses across the country, Mr. Speaker. The aerospace sector is so important to our economy because it contributes 211,000 jobs, contributes $28 billion to our national economy, and we will make sure that we continue to invest in the sector for years to come.
Honourable Member for Haldeman Norfolk.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have had multiple occasions to help out Bombardier without spending taxpayer dollars. For example, they could have allowed the expansion of the runway at Billy Bishop Airport. If they had done that, then Porter Airlines would have bought more C-Series planes from Bombardier, and Bombardier could have made its own money, which they said they could. So, Mr. Speaker, how can the Liberals responsibly give over $372 million of taxpayer dollars when A, other options were there, and B, Bombardier itself said they didn't need the money.
Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised to hear the comment from the member opposite because she was at the cabinet table in 2008 when they signed a $350 million check to Bombardier. So I want to make one thing very clear, Mr. Speaker, that our contribution is to strengthen the aerospace sector. Our contribution is about supporting a very important sector across the country. 2/3 of the jobs will be in Quebec, but the remaining jobs will be across the country, Mr. Speaker. We're committed to the aerospace sector. We're committed to good quality jobs that on average pay 60% more than the average manufacturing job, Mr. Speaker. We're going to grow the economy and help our workers.
Honourable Member for Haldeman Norfolk.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Canada does have a great aerospace industry, no question. There are also lots of small and medium-sized companies.
Order. We need to hear the question. The Honourable Member for Haldeman Norfolk might want to start over.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in spite of the Liberals, Canada does have a great aerospace industry with lots of small and medium-sized enterprises. But like the big players, they have to compete internationally as well. So why won't this Liberal government stop making the situation worse and actually start helping these small businesses to compete by lowering their taxes as was promised and giving them a fair and level playing field?
Why not? The Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, this investment is about innovation, and innovation is going to help not only the company but its supplier base. It's going to help the small businesses. It's going to make sure that these small businesses create the value so they can be part of global supply chains so they can continue to grow and create jobs for years to come, Mr. Speaker. That's the strategy that we have. It's about making sure that we have long-term sustainable growth. That's why we're focused on innovation. That's why we're focused on research and development, and that is why we made a significant investment, because it'll create good quality jobs because of such an incredible investment.
The member for Edmonton Riverbend.
Mr. Speaker, my Alberta colleagues and I have spent the last months meeting with everyday Albertans to discuss the worsening jobs crisis in our province. Their stories are truly devastating. Madeline told us, and I quote, "I can't afford my mortgage, I feel depressed and forgotten." And Carla said, "We need help if we are to keep a roof over our heads and food in our stomachs." Albertans can't shoulder any more of these Liberals' irresponsible economic policies. Will the Liberals quit making a bad situation worse for struggling Albertans and stop raising taxes to pay for their out-of-control spending?
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, in the last campaign, it was rhetoric like this that was rejected by Canadians because they're trying to pit one region of the country against the other. Our government is very committed to Alberta, Mr. Speaker. That is why we put forward stabilization funding for $200 million. That's why we put forward funding for our universities and colleges in Alberta worth $240 million, Mr. Speaker. That is why we provide an additional $500 million through the Business Development Canada program to help small businesses to grow and succeed in Alberta, Mr. Speaker. We'll continue to invest, and above and beyond that, we approved 3 pipelines that will create thousands of jobs for years to come.
Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, in the past year, over 200,000 workers in Western Canada lost their jobs. Hundreds of Alberta-based businesses and have either downsized or permanently closed their doors. But the Liberals never offered bailouts to the devastated business owners or families who lost everything in Alberta. And now he expects these same struggling taxpayers to pay more. Albertans don't even expect bailouts. They just expect the Prime Minister to stop attacking their livelihoods. When will the Prime Minister stop pitting one region against another and support all hard-working Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we are very pleased to have a strategy that incorporates all regions of the country. And we will have an opportunity later on in this House to debate energy workers in Alberta and across the country. It will be an opportunity for all of us to talk about what we have done and what we can do. And the government will remind all Canadians that the Nova Gas pipeline will create 3,000 jobs, the Line 3 replacement, 7,000 jobs, the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, 15,400 jobs. That's laying the foundation for long-term sustainable jobs, good jobs, jobs you can raise.
The Honourable Member for Desmethi, Missinippi, Churchill River.
Mr. Speaker,
Speaker, twice the Human Rights Tribunal issued non-compliance orders to this government for not fully implementing Jordan's principle. They continue to say they've committed new funding, but in fact, only a fraction has been rolled out. And in the meantime, kids continue to slip through the cracks. The minister says one thing, but the Liberals do the opposite. Will this government stop misrepresenting the facts and immediately roll out the money to First Nations kids at risk?
Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to answer this question. And our government is absolutely committed to the full implementation of Jordan's principle and to make sure that no child goes without care. It's because of that that we have identified that we will invest $383 million to make sure every kid gets the care they need. And since we announced that, we have identified 3,200 children who are now going to get the care they need. 3,200 children that weren't getting care a year ago today. And we will keep going. I will keep pushing until every child has the care they need.
The honourable member for Abitibi-Bajan-Nunavut. Mr. Speaker, words are all very well and good, but you've got to walk the talk.
That her government will be adversaries no more. Well, she needs to explain why her government, after announcing negotiations for a national settlement on the 60 scoop, is still fighting in court, even trying to stall the decision in the Marcia Brown case. These survivors have already fought for 8 years, Mr. Speaker. Why? How can the minister justify more delays?
Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada is deeply committed to renewing the relationship with Indigenous peoples based on the recognition of rights, respect, cooperation and partnership. We remain open to the discussions to explore the options on how to best address the issues faced by those affected by the 60s scoop. Our government believes that dialogue rather than litigation is the preferred route for resolving these issues and to right these horrible wrongs.
The honourable member for Thérèse de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, in my riding, there are many citizens who work directly or are associated with the aerospace sector. Several companies and families have links with the aerospace sector, and there are also organizations which lead research and development for the aerospace sector. Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Minister for Innovation, Science and Economic Development. Can the Minister tell this House on the way the government is going to support our aerospace sector? The Honourable Minister.
Merci au député de...
Thank you to the member for Thérèse de Blainville for his question.
Subject matter today, and again, I'd like to thank the member and the 39 MPs from Quebec who played a leadership role in the significant investment that we made in our aerospace sector. As you know, Mr. Speaker, this investment is a national investment that will help our sector, which is so significant across the country, Mr. Speaker. But this investment is about people. We invest in people to secure 4,000 good quality jobs, Mr. Speaker. This is about making sure that we have the latest and greatest technologies for our research and development and to create growth for years to come, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for the question.
Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's friends at Canada 2020 received a substantial amount of taxpayer money from the Minister of Science. Now, we know Canada 2020 is just an extension of the Liberal Party of Canada and this Prime Minister, yet a quick search of Canada 2020's website lists not one scientist as an employee or advisor. So, can the Minister advise this House just how many scientists taxpayers hired at Canada 2020?
Minister of Science.
Mr. Speaker, our government values research, science, and scientists and the important work they do. The Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council has a mandate to share and promote research to Canadians. As I've said, the Granting Council is an arm's-length body. It is able to issue contracts below a certain dollar value. This contract fell below that threshold, and the Granting Council made a decision. Unlike the previous government, we will not politicize science.
Honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, it's very clear to everyone, all you have to do to get taxpayer money from this government is be a well-connected Liberal. Now, infrastructure projects are stalled. Alberta's economy is taking a beating, but Canada 2020 gets their cash. Now, Canada 2020 employs 0 scientists, Mr. Speaker. So how can this Liberal science minister justify giving taxpayer money to an organization that has nothing to do with science, but everything to do with Liberal politics?
Here. Minister of Science.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to see the opposition is finally taking an interest in science funding after a decade of neglect. Our government believes in research, science, and scientists and the important work they do. That's why we've made the largest increase in the 3 federal granting councils in a decade. That's why we've reinstated the long-form census, unmuzzled our scientists, and launched the search for the chief science advisor. I look forward to building on these commitments.
The honourable member for Lévis-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, there's nothing new under the sun if you want to be in the good graces of the Liberal Party. You need either cash to buy access or be friends with the Prime Minister. In Québécois French, it's called special treatment for insiders. And there is a long list, including Canada 2020, as well as the most recent appointments by the Ministers of Justice and Agriculture, who have rewarded a former Chief of Staff and a defeated Liberal candidate. Mr. Speaker, when will this government finally stop putting the interests of the Liberal Party first and start working for all Canadians? The honourable member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you know, and as Canadians know, we have introduced a new government-wide process which is open, transparent, and merit-based. Our approach will find high-quality candidates who represent gender parity and Canadian diversity. The new selection process reflects the fundamental role many Canadians play in our democracy when they sit on commissions, boards, and crown corporations, organizations, and tribunals across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians aren't buying these lines from the other side. Under this government, Canada 2020 has become an extension of this government. They received tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayer funds from multiple ministers. Canada 2020 has even boasted about setting up offices in the parliamentary precincts. Canadians are not buying this, and they're not buying that the Prime Minister should continue to be able to funnel taxpayers' money to his friends. When will the Prime Minister put a stop to this?
Honourable Minister of Science.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, I'm really happy to see the opposition finally showing some interest in science funding after a decade of neglect. Our government believes in research, science, and scientists and the important work they do. We are proud to have made the largest investment in the 3 federal granting councils in a decade. We've also reinstated the long-form census, unmuzzled our scientists, and launched the search for Canada's chief science advisor. I look forward to building on those commitments.
Order, please. The honourable member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, today, mayors of some Quebec municipalities came to Ottawa to get the government to understand how important the softwood lumber industry is. We need a new deal between Canada and the U.S., which takes into account the specific forestry conditions in Quebec. For years now, pulp and paper mills and businesses have been suffocated by many trade battles. But once again, it's the workers who will suffer the most. Does the government has a plan B to defend the industry, including loans and guarantees? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, the softwood lumber agreement expired under the former government. The government is defending vigorously the pulp and paper sector, the forestry sector in Canada, and will keep on working closely with producers and workers in the softwood lumber sector, with provinces and territories, because we want a good agreement for Canada and Quebec, not any kind of agreement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Like a question. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government promised to improve the lives of Canadian seniors, yet residents in my riding of Kootenay, Columbia aren't receiving their old age security because Service Canada is so under-resourced they can't keep up. At this rate, Canadians turning 65 won't receive their old age security until they turn 67. Mr. Speaker, that is unacceptable. Will this government address and immediately fix the OAS backlog in order to stop neglecting our seniors?
Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very grateful for the question, and I commend the interest of our colleague in this very important question. We want all our seniors not only to receive the benefits to which they are entitled, but the quality of services to which they are entitled and that they expect from our government. We have announced in last year's budget significant investment in Service Canada. We're going to work on these investments to make sure that all of our seniors receive the respect and the benefit they deserve.
Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, there used to be order in Canada's once-a-decade election to the UN Security Council. States in the Western Europe and others group where Canada competes took turns with candidacy. No more. And when governments take principled stands on a range of global issues, as our Conservative government did in 2010, less principled countries betray their commitments. Now, we know the Liberals have an unhealthy focus on gaining or buying enough votes to win. But just how much are the Liberals willing to compromise to get that seat?
Hear, hear. Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague across the way for the question. He will know that now more than ever, Canada needs to be heard around the world, and that a seat on the Security Council will be an important avenue for us to share and advance the goals that Canada has for the world. Goals like inclusive and accountable governance, respect for diversity, and human rights, including the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, this is the world in which we are working towards, and a Security Council seat is an important avenue to get there.
Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
To the Public Safety Minister, Mr. Speaker, it looks like Chinese nationals are sneaking into our country in increasing numbers with fraudulent and tampered visas. We're hearing about the criminal elements and others posing a risk to Canada, entering the country under the radar. Now, we know the Liberals are cozying up to Chinese billionaires and to the Chinese government, and they're opening up these new visa application centers throughout China. So can the minister explain where these tampered visas are coming from and what actions he is taking to stop this national security threat?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we take the credibility and the integrity of Canadian travel documents with great seriousness. A well-functioning border is essential to Canada's security and to our prosperity. Alerts and notices pertaining to fraudulent documents are regularly distributed to Border Services officers and Canada Border Service Agency personnel to ensure that every traveller arriving in Canada has the right to enter in a legal and properly documented fashion. And if the documentation is not correct, then the entry is refused. We want to ensure the integrity of our border.
The Honourable Member for Richmond, Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, the Canada Border Services agencies put out an alert on February 2nd indicated that there was a significant increase in the number of Chinese immigrants trying to enter the country illegally. When questioned about this, the minister here in the House replied that it was important for border officers to be alert to this risk and danger. Mr. Speaker, I think we can all agree that our border guards must be alert to this risk and danger, but can the Minister of Public Safety tell us today what measures he has taken since February 2nd to address the situation once and for all?
Mr. Speaker, the CBSA officers that are on duty at the 120 border crossing points that provide entry into Canada are well trained. They are professionals in what they do. They protect Canada in a frontline way. They process quite literally hundreds of thousands of potential travelers every day. They handle $2.5 billion in trade going both ways across our border every day. Canadians can count on their professionalism.
The Honourable Member for Dorval-Lachine de la Salle. Canada is experiencing a public health crisis. Yesterday, Alberta announced 343 deaths due to fentanyl last year compared to 257 the year before, and the crisis is moving towards eastern Canada with seizures of fentanyl and carfentanil up everywhere. In Montreal, supervised injection sites, it was decided, are an appropriate tool to deal with this crisis. What is the government doing to contain this public health crisis? Mr. Speaker, thank you for the member from Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle for this important question, and she is right. We are experiencing a national health care crisis, and we must keep on addressing in a collaborative and humane way, based on evidence, to this crisis. Supervised injection sites lie at the heart of our approach. This week, we have approved 3 requests for sites in Montreal, and we will keep on working on saving lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, it's been a year since the Phoenix pay fiasco has been going on, and it's only getting worse. One day, public servants aren't paid enough, and the next, they're being overpaid. Even worse, the government will lose hundreds of millions of dollars earned by taxpayers. But that's not the fault of the Phoenix pay system. That's clear. It's the fault of the minister who, for the last year, has shown a lack of judgment, transparency, and accountability. When will the minister finally take charge of her department and stop hiding behind her senior officials?
And procurement.
Mr. Speaker, we're working very hard to fix the Phoenix pay system. The previous government would know that, in fact, in 2015, there were $78 million paid out in overpayments. So while this is not an ongoing acceptable practice, we are working hard to resolve it under the Phoenix pay system. First, our priority is to make sure that employees who work get paid for the work performed, and we are also making sure that we have a system in place so that they can make their payments back in terms of overpayments in a way that doesn't cause hardship for those employees.
Honourable member for South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, a Yukon judge has slammed the federal government and issued a wake-up call to Canadian taxpayers. The site of the Mount Nansen mine is now a toxic mess, and the company responsible filed for bankruptcy in 2004. Judge Veal of the Yukon Supreme Court said the company is guilty of, and I quote, raping and pillaging the land. But now it's up to taxpayers to pick up the tab, which could run into the hundreds of millions. So what is the government doing to offset the costs for this site and others so that polluters pay, not the taxpayers? Hear, hear.
Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Contaminated sites is one of the largest parts of our department, and we take this very seriously in making sure that sites like that are returned to the pristine environment that are deserved, and we will work with all companies to make sure that they do their part. But in these situations where the company is bankrupt, this is a very difficult situation that we take very seriously, and we're looking to repair.
Honourable member for St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians who have disabilities face challenges every day which prevent them from fully participating in activities. Everyone deserves to be able to take part in life, and colleagues who have participated in consultations on making Canada more accessible know that we have to bring down barriers to ensure equal access to all. Can the Minister of Sports and Persons with Disabilities tell us about measures which have been put in place to make Canada more fair and accessible? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my honourable colleague for his question. Earlier this year, I announced the approval of 573 projects funded from the Accessibility Fund. The money will go to community projects throughout the country by communities who have put in requests.
These 573 projects are important to help ensure that all Canadians, regardless of their abilities, feel welcome and able to fully participate in society.
Honourable member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, in 2006, Warrant Officer Roger Perot was injured in an IED blast in Afghanistan. He's had 3 back surgeries, 2 hip replacements, and other complications. Now, in the process of releasing from the military, the Liberals are denying him his critical injury benefit, saying that at age 46, it's just normal wear and tear. When did the fake promises of supporting our injured soldiers from slipping through the cracks become the policy of this Prime Minister?
Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, our department is committed to getting our soldiers, sailors, and aviators the care they need when and where they need that. We go through a complex array of systems of care to get them mental health supports and physical supports, whether that's through our 11 OSI clinics, whether it's through our 4,000 mental health care professionals and the like, to go forward to build a system that ensures they're able to build their lives. In respect to this particular member's concern, we can go back and look at it as a department.
Member for Saanich, Gulf Islands.
Mr. Speaker, on Saturday at every single law school in Canada, students volunteered doing research to figure out how they can help refugees potentially affected by President Trump's attempt to stop their flight to safety. Now those same law students, starting at the University of Victoria, picked up on by University of Toronto, University of Alberta, Dalhousie Law School, have written this government to ask for the immediate suspension of the Safe Third Party Agreement. Can the Prime Minister, as our Prime Minister and the Minister responsible for youth, hear and heed their voices?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are a country of immigrants, and Canadians have always acted with compassion to those seeking safety for themselves and their families. We will continue to welcome people in need of protection. As I've often said, Canada is stronger not in spite of our differences, but because of them, and that's why it was such a source of pride that so many Canadians worked so hard to welcome over 46,000 refugees just last year. We will continue to do everything we can to welcome people to Canada, because we know that makes us better, that makes us stronger, that makes us better off.
Colleagues, one of the advantages of being Speaker is that I get to know some of the people who help to make things run smoothly in this place. And some of them have had impressive and sometimes long careers at the House. And I've known some of them a long time.
This week, after 32 years of service at the House, one of our page supervisors, Lynn Legault, will retire. Lynn has been a pillar of the page program for decades, and as such has helped to initiate over 1,200 first-year university students to their role as pages.
I speak for all my colleagues, those here today and the hundreds who have come and gone during Lynn's years of service, when I say thank you, Lynn, and enjoy a well-earned retirement. Tabling of documents. Order. I encourage members to take their discussions into the lobbies or elsewhere in the building, or even, if they like the cold, outside. Dépôt de documents.
Tabling of documents. Introduction of government bills. Statements by ministers.
Parliamentary delegations. The honourable member for Beaches East York.
Standing Order 34 Sub 1, I have the honour to present to the House, in both official languages, the report of the Canadian Group of the Interparliamentary Union respecting its participation at the 135th IPU Assembly and relating meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from October 23rd to the 27th of last year.
Presenting reports from committees, the honourable member for Yukon. Order.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor of presenting in both official languages the 21st report of the Standing Committee